Hello, my sensational students. Welcome to Bloom and Grow Education. My name is Meredith. Today's video is suitable for a Year 5 child who is preparing for the Gifted and Talented test. It's a writing lesson, and it's another one of those lessons where I give feedback on a student's writing sample. I absolutely love this story. Well, I absolutely love the start of this story. She has done an amazing job, and then it sort of pivots off into a less amazing story. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we're going to have a chat about what went wrong. So again, we're using this stimulus here. We've used this one quite a few times now. And the story is this one. The swords clashed upon the sounds of thundering warriors, their loud stomps leaving imprints on the ginger sand. It seemed as if all were lost. It was coming to the end of humans. Blood trailed the ground as the sand sorceress forced his sand-made warriors to kill. They were molded using amber wet sand and had the shape of a human octopus. It had a strange way of sensing. It had no eyes. Instead, it had holes on their ankles, which the humans concluded as ears. Lord Sandrakar, the Sand Lord, smiled viciously at his malevolent, creatures. Humans were going to be extinct. There were no sparks of hope left. The last piercing scream, and the land was claimed for Lord Sandrakar. The new generation arrived, the sirens. Lord Sandrakar grasped the opportunity to sprout sand from her hands, stealing all the stolen goods. There was one thing she did not know. The boy who lived was still alive. Over a few days, the whole city was vandalized, and no one was aware about the last human, the 10-year-old David. Lord Winnow, the Lord of the Wind, was inviting you for a dinner, the old siren reported. Sandraka's smile was so long that her stone-made teeth managed to show a sly smile. A week later, the eerie silence confirmed the island was deserted. David stalked across the honey-looking sand, craving he would see anything. For the past days, all he managed to hunt were a few fish that he had to roast in the fire. One normal day, David was sitting by a fire when, distances away, Lord Sandrakar had seen the smoke and decided to return. Unaware, David tiptoed across the smooth sand, and a sudden massive tsunami swept over him. His gasping breath broke the calm silence, and he ran into his treehouse, his only hideout. He panted as he was camouflaged just in time. Lord Sandrakar growled triumphantly. Such a close chance. It was not the end of humans and will never be, David thought reassuringly. He only had the tiniest hope of success. Life always gives opportunities. David hoped as he glanced around. Suddenly, David and Sandrakar turned in horror. It was Halloween night, and the ghosts were everywhere. Horror rose through him like never before. The sky spoke to him. The only way is being kind, the voice faded away. This was life's only opportunity. He hurried through the enormous sand that heaved in the houses. He reached the Lord's. May we share the land? We can save our kind. When he finished, the Lord said yes, but asked him, what will you give me? All right, I'm going to stop there. So she said that she wrote this in 25 minutes. I don't think that that's the case. I think it's unlikely that you'd be able to write that much in 25 minutes. But do you see what I mean about how it started off and it was amazing, and then it sort of flops down into nothing? So let's first of all talk about the things she's done really well. So one of the things I encourage you to do is to read lots and read from a variety of different things. Like if you enjoy Diary of a Wimpy Kid, then read it. But that's not going to get you into the gate test, going to have you pass the gate test, because it's too common. It's not challenging. It's an enjoyable book to read, but it's not going to challenge your reading skills. It's not going to bring in unique ideas. And on my website, you can find a list of books that I recommend that will help to challenge your mind and build those reading comprehension skills. But the reason I mention this is because I can tell from her writing that that's what she does. She loves to read, and she likes to read those kinds of stories. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage you to read, is because the books go into your head and then they come out through your writing. And man, that was a great introduction. Swords clashed upon the sounds of thundering warriors, their loud stomps leaving imprints on the ginger sand. It seemed as if all were lost. It was coming to the end of humans. Blood trailed the ground as the sand sorceress forced, she keeps on changing word between she and he, so I think it's she, given as a sorceress, his sand warriors to kill. And I love this idea that like they're not just like, because my first thought is those clay warriors that they have in China. There's like thousands of these individual little clay warriors. And that's what popped into my head when I first thought of it. But then she goes on to describe these really unique creatures. They were molding using the amber wet sand and had the shape of a human octopus. It had a strange way of sensing. It had no eyes. Instead, they had holes in their ankles, which a human concluded was ears. Now, even the way that she's created this Lord Sandrika, so she's chosen a name which sounds really like powerful, but it's got sand in it because he's the Sand Lord. And down here we learn about Lord Winnow, which is the Wind Lord. So even the names that she's chosen there are powerful and effective. Now, we sort of then go off and we meet David, and then there's the Lord Lord of the Wind, and then they're meeting on an island, and then he goes and hides in this tree house, and then I was trying to talk her through where we were trying to get to in this story. I was trying to find that, because we sort of go like this, and I was trying to find the linear path or the smooth story arc that got us to where we were going. And I was like, well, who's this David character, and what's his purpose, and why does Lord Winnow have something to do with it? And then she just said, I didn't really know what I wanted my problem to be. And I was like, well, that's exactly what the problem is. So this is another example, I think, where she loves to write, she loves to read, she's jumped straight into this story with all this gusto and enthusiasm, but she hasn't stopped to plan it out. And that's why it's sort of flopped. And it could have been amazing, but it just sort of flopped. So again, this is a time when I encourage you to take 30 seconds or a minute and make sure that you do that planning, so you know exactly where your story is going. So you're not trying to unfold the story as you're writing. Even professional authors, like I'm trying to think of J.K. Rowling. Okay. She would have like a huge pinup board where she would have like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. Harry's going to do this, Hermione's going to do this, and break it all down so that she knows exactly where the story arc is going. She doesn't just sit down and just type it out. So please stop and make sure you're doing that planning. Now, I just finished off the lesson. I'm not going to rewrite any sections of it, but one of the things that we did in class was I said, well, can we help this student come up with a clearer problem? So this is what we brainstormed. So we've got this sand army. Could we use water to destroy the sand army? We also talked about how sand, when it's melted, is you turn it into glass, and you could then shatter the glass. So maybe a way of destroying the sand army is to heat them up. Maybe you could call up the Lord of the Wind could call up some huge tsunami. So not tsunami. Like a hurricane, like a wind hurricane kind of a thing, and blow it away like a twister or a hurricane. And that was me emailing her to say to try again with her story. So these ideas is one clear idea about how to destroy these sand warriors and bring the human population back. Or even if human population is gone, Lord Winnow wants to win the land now. And it would have just been the Lord of the Sand and the Lord of the Wind doing battle against each other, and none of this David character coming in. So it would have just helped to smooth out that story arc and make it more clear. So again, making sure that your problem is really clear and that you only have one problem in your story. It's okay to have many problems in a story, but when you only have 25 minutes, you don't have time to have more than one problem. Okay, thank you very much for joining me for this lesson. I'd love it if you could please thank me in return by liking this video and subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you at the next lesson.